everything should be in a flow state. So anywhere that there isn't flow is the potential to improve. So all we're doing as business leaders and managers is improving flow. But if you really boil it down to this one podcast, there's enough information in this podcast to keep your business improving for the next 20 years. All we're really doing is improving flow. That's all we are doing.
So Ryan, what on earth is flow, and why is it so important for all the business owners listening to this today?
Yep. So a very small word, but a massive meaning. And this is going to be a really exciting podcast because anybody listening to this who runs a business, works in a business, wants to streamline their organization, this is the podcast. This is going to give you all the answers. So flow, a very small, simple word, but a massive meaning behind it. Basically, at a very basic level, every single thing in our organization should be flowing towards the customer. Every process should be flowing towards the customer. Every service should be flowing towards the customer. Anywhere where there's a stoppage or a blockage, there is waste.
I remember actually Brad Cairns, a friend of the show, shout out to Brad. He talks about he's in the woodworking business and making doors. He described his factory as like a river of wood. So it's like the wood actually physically flowing through the factory. Why is that idea of a river so powerful whenever it comes to this idea of flow and our products?
Yep. So when we talk about lean and lean thinking and lean manufacturing, there's lots of terminologies and lots of information out there. But basically, lean can be simplified to this one word, and it's flow. And that's all we're trying to do in our organizations. In any lean organization, you're trying to improve flow. And anywhere where there's a stoppage, anywhere where there's a blockage is potential for improvement. And that's why it's so easy to walk into any organization. You know, I could walk into a company for the first time and I can just spot things all over the place because it's so easy to witness where there's no flow. 100 unread emails, a load of inventory sitting, anything that's static is potential for massive improvement. So if we think about the whole process of making a product, you know, the customer should get the quotation, then it turns to an order, it flows through the facility, through the factory, it goes to the customer, the payment comes in. Every single process should flow almost like a ballerina dance. You know, there should be no stoppages.
Right, and anywhere where there is a stoppage, like, it takes 3 days for the quotation to reach the customer, there's your waste.
Exactly. You're pinpointing the waste.
Interesting. And so when you look out on your factory, or any business owner looks out on their business and they see things stopping, it's like there's waste. There's opportunities to improve. Because so many people write in the show, I don't know where to start with improvements. And what you're saying is, where are things stopping? Look there. And then that's your improvement opportunity.
So just stand in the middle of your factory, stand in the middle of your office, and you will spot burden. You will spot blockages all over the place, and then just start asking questions on how can we improve this? How can we create flow?
Right, and the water metaphor really, really works, because if you see a body of water that's not moving, it's usually like a swamp. It's like stagnant and there's like weird stuff growing in it, and it's probably the same for our businesses, isn't it?
Exact same. Everything should be in a state of motion, whether it's products going through a factory, whether it's us in a flow state when we're, you know, coming up with ideas. Everything should be in a state of motion and in a state of flow.
Perfect. So, I mean, we're going to go through the 3 levels of flow like we often do in the show. First level's individual in our personal lives. Second level's in our business. Third level's kind of philosophical and more deeper. Yeah. So you've led us perfectly into this. Let's just really quickly rattle through level 1. Like real world, everyday examples of flow. So something I've heard you say before, the difference between roundabouts and traffic lights. Talk to us about that.
Yep. So you can see this everywhere, even on the drive up here today. You know, the roundabouts, if you look at a roundabout, the traffic is in a constant state of flow. There's very little stoppages, very little blockages. It's always moving. There's, you know, it's a nice way to demonstrate flow, whereas a traffic light system is stop, start, stop, start. So a roundabout system, if we can think about that roundabout system in our businesses, roundabout system in our processes, you know, if we can think more like a roundabout and less like a traffic light system, that's a very visual and understandable way to communicate what we're trying to talk about here today.
Right. So it's less about start, stop, start, stop. It's just keep everything moving. Because as you say, everything should be moving to serve the customer. So when we're driving, the customer is, I don't want to be stuck in traffic. We're the customer. So the roundabout serves us because it stops those stoppages and blockages, which brings pain and frustration. What other examples of flow are there in everyday world?
Okay, so if you think about a dentist, the last time you've been at a dentist, there's nearly always a dental nurse or somebody supporting the dentist so that they can add value to the patient. And so they're not disrupting flow. They're not looking for materials. They're not looking for the next tool. Everything is supplied right when they need it to create flow and to improve flow, because ultimately the goal is to serve the customer. And that's really important, I think, to mention that a lot of lean organizations around the world need to have a focus on the customer, because that's why we're all here. That's why we're doing what we do. That's why we're improving all the processes to add value to the customer. And sometimes that can be forgot about. You know, there's maybe companies doing lean for the sake of doing lean or to reach some type of KPI. But the goal of every lean organization is to add value to the customer by reducing waste and improving flow.
So good. And as always, you've very professionally moved us into level 2, which is all about the business. Talk to me about like the role of a leader in an organization when it comes to flow. Like, what is the leader's job really when you boil it down?
Yeah, I believe that the role of a business leader or any leader or manager within an organization is to create flow. That's really all we're doing. Or to remove blockages or stoppages. Everything should be in a flow state. So anywhere where there isn't flow is the potential to improve. So all we're doing as business leaders and managers is improving flow. We're making sure the answer is where it's needed. We're making sure the materials are coming at the right time. We're making sure the customer has all the information that they requested. We're just making sure that, like the river, it's able to flow and there's no stoppages and no blockages. And that's really the ultimate role of a lean leader in an organization. A lean leader, you know, there's loads of information out there on lean manufacturing, lean thinking. But if you really boil it down to this one podcast, there's enough information in this podcast to keep your business improving for the next 20 years, because all we're really doing is improving flow. That's all we are doing.
So the business leader is really like playing the role of almost like a conductor in an orchestra then?
Absolutely. Improving, it's almost synchronization, you know, synchronization, creating flow and creating harmony within the organization.
Right. So if we get really tactical then, like how do you do that, right? So like in one of your businesses, you guys make chairs. So there's like a woodworking bit, and then there's a foam bit, and then there's this bit, and there's that bit. So how do you like keep things flowing? Because surely things have to stop at some point, you know, to be transferred from one department to the other. So how do you like actually in the real world actually do this in your business?
Yep. This is a massive point, and I want everybody to really get this next sentence.
Everybody sit up straight and listen.
The key to improving flow is to create a culture which understands this concept. So what does that mean? That means every single person in your organization should be aware where there is no flow and then be empowered to make changes to improve flow. Because as business leaders, we can't be in every corner of our business. It's just not possible.
You can't play the drums and the trumpet and the xylophone.
Exactly. You just can't physically do it. So it makes so much sense for us as business leaders and as lean leaders to develop our people to see potential blockages, to develop our people to see where something isn't flowing, to develop our people and give them the ability and the empowerment to stop and say, hold on a minute, this isn't flowing. I'm going to stop and make this jig or make this improvement or put the tool in the correct place so that I can improve flow. So the key to creating flow within your organization is to create a culture where every single person understands the power of flow and then is given the freedom to do something about it.
How do you do that?
Actually, I've got a book coming out.
Oh, there you go. Class.
A 12-step process, actually. It's something that we're going to be talking more about later, but there's actually a book coming out on a 12-step process for developing a lean culture. And that's what we've done at our company. We've been really successful at developing a lean culture. And it's such a powerful thing. And it's why I'm so passionate about, doing podcasts to get this information out there to as many people as possible, because we have seen firsthand the benefits of developing a culture, the benefits of having a culture where every single person, in the organization is empowered to make changes, small incremental changes every day to create flow. So the book will be out soon.
Class.
I didn't even plan to say that, but it will be out soon, and it's going to change the way people embrace lean cultures.
Yeah, awesome. I'm just thinking back when we went to Toyota, and I know that video will be going out soon. I'm really, really excited to share the actual factory tour with people. They had these wee robots that would carry like dashboards to like from department to department or different parts of material. Like, what's going on there? Because I was just thinking about like the constant movement there. Like you could hardly walk around that factory before the wee robots were like singing Indiana Jones at you and telling you to move out of the way. Do you know what I mean?
That's a class example. I never even thought about that, in preparation for this podcast. But the Toyota facility is the ultimate example of flow. Remember, we were standing up on the big platform looking out over the whole thing. And the only way I can explain a Toyota plant is that it's a sea of flow. It's just like a sea of movement. Just acres and acres and acres of thousands and thousands of components all coming together in perfect synchronization and flowing to the customer. That's the best example of it. Yeah.
Crazy. And so I've heard lean guys, like when we interviewed Norm on the podcast, he talked a lot about these things called water spiders. What is a water spider?
Yep. So a water spider is a person in a production environment who goes around and gets the materials, gets information, maybe gets a tool and supplies it to the people who are doing the work.
Right.
So it saves everybody running about looking for this stuff.
Kind of like the dental assistant.
Exactly like the dental assistant. So it puts all that running around into one person instead of everybody running around doing it, basically.
So it allows everyone to stay focused. Everything, again, back to the Toyota factory, the dashboard people are just making dashboards.
Yeah.
Next dashboard comes, boom, 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 boom. Next, boom, boom, boom. Next versus, flip me. I have to take this dashboard now and take it down to that department and have to go and get those parts and these parts and these parts. It's like, no. They have water spiders that are humans that are bringing them all the parts they need and filling up all their trays.
Yeah.
And then there's these awesome wee digital robot water spiders that are taking the finished product to the next station.
Yep.
And that all stops blockages, improves flow, and just keeps everything flowing towards the customer.
Exactly. And I've got a really good actual example that happened to us about a year ago in our welding department. So we had 6 welders welding a certain amount of product a day. Demand was increasing, and we actually took one of those welders out of the process and made them a water spider. And guess what happened? Productivity went through the roof. So we actually had less people welding, but took one of the welders and made them a water spider, because we were finding that we had 5 or 6 people looking for materials, looking for tools, deciding which product to work on next. But the water spider extracted all that, I suppose, non-value added activity and made it possible for every single person to keep providing value and creating flow.
Really interesting. And it's making me think of now like digital water spiders. So for any software geeks out there, like there's an amazing tool called Zapier.
Yeah.
And you can set up all these wee automations. And so it basically is doing the digital version of what you just described, where it's bringing one digital thing from one app into another place. So very simple. If someone books in a calendar invite for this podcast, the digital water spider will automatically bring it into Notion, and it will automatically bring all the content that you need in the specific place. So it allows us to keep flowing and us to keep going. Very, very cool. What other ways have you guys improved flow in your organization?
Well, we're improving flow every single day. And that's the goal of a lean organization. So we take 15 minutes every single morning with every person on our team, and we make small improvements. We call it 3Sing, where we sort, sweep, and standardize. So we 3S every day, to make sure that when I go to do the job, that the tools are right there. when I'm going to send somebody an email, that I don't have to sort through all these folders on my desktop. So we take that time aside in the morning and we invest that time to create flow throughout the rest of the day. So we're always improving flow. It's just how we think. We're always coming up with ways to take those blockages and those stoppages out of the process.
Class. And what is, when you talk about connecting the work, what's that?
Connecting the work, yeah. Another really powerful concept, and you know, most companies don't know about this concept, and I just see it all the time when I go to factories or I go into companies, you know, people working in silos. So there may be a steel cutting department over here that's just cutting. All they want to do is cut. There's a department over here, all they want to do is weld. They're just welding, and they're creating these huge big inventories of welded parts. There's these huge big inventories of cut parts over here. But really what they need to do, and the goal of a lean organization, is to connect the work. And actually physically connect the work is the ideal situation, where you cut it, you weld it, you paint it, you assemble it. 1, 2, 3, 4. So physically connecting workstations together is the ultimate way to create flow. Because when people are separated in different silos and different departments, different buildings, it creates all these stoppages and blockages, and there's no flow. So the key to every lean organization is to connect the work.
So it all flows.
Yeah.
This has just kind of stood out to me here. You guys, like we always say, you guys make medical chairs. Like maybe a more traditional way of doing that would be, you know, this factory in Thailand makes this bit, and this factory in America makes this bit, and this factory makes this, and this makes this. So there's all these kind of disconnect. The work's not connected.
Yeah.
Whereas when you guys make a chair, how long does it take you to make a chair from start to finish inside your factory in that flow?
2.5 hours.
See, that's insane.
Yeah.
If you compare that with, well, for the first bit, it takes 2 weeks, and then it gets shipped here, and then it gets shipped there, and then it gets there.
Yeah.
So you guys are actually taking the one product through the whole cycle, passing it between the departments under the one roof.
Absolutely. Because we've connected the work. And it wasn't always like that. It was actually the opposite. You know, the exact opposite of that. Our lead time used to be absolutely crazy, like 8-10 weeks, because we weren't connecting the work. There was no flow throughout the organization.
Right.
You should literally be able to watch the product moving through the factory in slow motion. That is the goal, that it should absolutely not stop. It shouldn't stop at all. It should be, even if it's very, very slow, it should be moving.
Yeah.
You know, and we've seen that at Toyota. We've seen it firsthand. The car is literally moving to the next stage. Nothing stops.
Yeah. And I mean, we talked a lot about how flow is always, it should be to serve the customer.
Yeah.
You just mentioned your lead times. Like, what an amazing thing for your customers where they can get a chair in, what do you say, 21 days?
Yeah, that's less than that now, yeah.
And like, what did it used to be?
Like eight weeks. Yeah.
So this is like insanely life transforming, quality of life improving product that they'll be able to get in less than 3 weeks as opposed to 8 weeks.
Yep.
Well, that's the power flow right there. And the podcast.
It is. And this is why I get so excited, and also why I get so frustrated.
Right.
When people, you know, because we have loads of people coming to our facility to see what we're doing on Lean Made Simple tours, and we invite people from all over the world to come there to see it. And a lot of companies just don't get it, you know. And if they only knew that the key to all their problems, or a lot of their problems, is right below their noses.
You also, when it comes to flow, I feel like I have like quite a controversial take on people. So, you know, it seems to be like in the outside world, the aim of the game is to hold on to your people as long as possible. And I just see people flowing out of your organization all the time, but not for the reason that you would think.
Yeah.
Talk to me about that.
Yeah, that's probably counterintuitive. I would definitely admit that. But if we're talking about flow of materials through the organization, flow of the product, flow into the customer, another example of flow, which we should all encourage, is people flowing through the organization, as in new people coming in and people moving on to do new things and take on new opportunities. And it's actually something that we encourage, believe it or not. The flow of people through an organization is actually a good thing. Loads of companies are doing things to try and hold on to people and staff retention, and they're measuring it, and they're really proud that their staff turnover is at a really small percentage, but that's really not a big thing for us at all. We encourage people to go and try new things, go and start a business, go and travel. We shouldn't be holding on to people in a sense that, that they feel restrictive or, restricted. We should encourage them to go and be the best version of themselves that they can be. And if that means moving through the organization, it's actually a good thing.
Right.
Another massive benefit is that you've new ideas coming in all the time.
True.
Imagine working with the same 40 people for the next 20 years. We're just all bouncing ideas off the same group of people. It's new ideas is what we need. So when new people come into the organization, you have new perspectives on things, you have new ways of looking at things. So a flow of people throughout the organization is actually a good thing.
Yeah, that's great. And I feel like that takes us really nicely into level 3, which is kind of the more deeper philosophical side of flow. And what you're describing is it's like an organization as a healthy living organism. Actually never even connected those two words together. Do you know what I mean? But I love that idea that like healthy things flow. And as we said at the start, water, like healthy bodies of water, or if water stays still, it becomes unhealthy. If organizations stay still, they become healthy. If there's not a new influx of people, if there's not fresh things coming into it. Talk to me more.
Even as a mindset, being in a flow state is a really nice place to be. Like doing this podcast right now, I'm really enjoying it. I really love talking about what we talk about. I love working with the people we're working with here. So I feel we're in a flow state. And when you're in a flow state, you are in harmony with, you're in harmony with the laws of nature almost.
100%.
And that's the way we should all be aiming to work. We should all be aiming to do purposeful work that we enjoy, working with people we enjoy, working on projects that we enjoy. Because when you do that, you're in this flow state. Ideas just keep coming. It just feels good. You forget about the time. You don't have to look at your watch to see when 5 o'clock is.
Yeah,
it's a nice way to work.
And we talk a lot about, and this is why I think your company culture is so successful and why people fly over the world to see it, is because these principles have been internalized by your team.
Yeah,
and so when you think about how you, Ryan Tierney, as an individual, have internalized flow in your own life, whether it's your personal life, your family. I love what you say where you're not starting to stop and throughout the day. Oh, is work almost finished? Oh, is work almost finished? It's like, no, you're flowing. Like your business is almost an extension of your purpose and who you are, and it's a vehicle for you to bring your gifts and your vision and your mission to the world.
Yeah.
Touch a wee bit more on that.
Yeah, it's a good point. Something I've probably haven't put a lot of thought into, to be honest, but now that you've asked me the question.
Now we're flowing.
And now we're flowing, we're in the flow. I think when opportunities come my way, that you almost have an intuition. You almost know if it feels right. You get a gut instinct for things. You can look at all the facts and figures you want, but intuitively you kind of know when something is flowing. If you get really excited about an idea and you phone somebody to talk about it and they don't answer the phone, it's kind of like, maybe it just wasn't right. I'll maybe not push it. But when you're in the flow state and you bounce an idea off somebody and they're all on for it, and then you do this and it works, and you phone somebody else and that, you're almost drawn towards the thing that you want.
Right.
If that makes sense.
I'm almost picturing like each of our lives, this is really going for it now, but like picturing each of our lives as a river. Yeah. And whenever an opportunity is flowing in the correct direction for your life and when it's going against that.
Exactly, yeah. Because you can feel the discomfort, or you can feel the unease if something just isn't right.
Yeah.
Because we're approached with business opportunities all the time. Myself and my two brothers, and sometimes something comes along which you could make a lot of money. It makes sense on paper, but it just doesn't feel right. It's just not on purpose. And when something isn't on purpose and it doesn't feel right, we tend to not go ahead with it.
I love that, man. I'm really, really glad we got there, actually, because I think that's like hugely, hugely valuable. One of my favorite quotes is "Healthy things grow," and I think I'm gonna like co-opt it now and just say "Healthy things flow." You know, healthy relationships, healthy marriages, healthy businesses, healthy everything. It's like there should be an element of flow in all of those things. Yeah. So, I mean, how do we get started? You know, for the business owner listening, they're like, "What on earth have we got to at the end of this podcast?" Let's bring it back to, you know, we love to equip people with tools and practical steps. So where do we go from here?
I think in the spirit of keeping things simple, at a very basic level, the next time you're at your company or at your organization, now that you're aware of what we're talking about, you will be able to witness a blockage very easily. If you've got for example, in a production environment, just stand for 5 minutes, and it won't be 2 minutes until somebody has to go and look for something or ask somebody a question, and just walk over to them and say, you know, or even do it with them. That's probably better than watching. Do it with somebody or do it with a group, and say the next time you have to look for something, the next time you're wondering where that tool is, the next time you've got a question, just capture that. Let's write it down, and at the end of the day, see how many times you were disrupted in your flow, because I believe that disruption is actually the 9th waste. You know, we talk about the 8 wastes of lean, and I think disruption it should be its own waste. How many times are we doing something and we get disrupted? Mm-hmm. You're on a phone call and somebody barges into the office. You're in a flow state typing an email and somebody rings to ask you something. So anywhere there is a distraction is disrupting flow, and it's so easy to identify that and so easy to spot it. And you can start right now, today, and make small changes to improve flow. But really, the key to this whole thing is to develop a culture. It really is. Because me and you know, as individuals can fix all these things, which is good. It's nice. It'll improve flow personally for ourselves. But to really have a big impact on the organization, the key, and I get so excited about this, the key is to teach and train every single person on flow. If I was you listening to this or watching this, I would gather your whole company around, get them all in a room and play this podcast, play this video, and then have a discussion afterwards and, you know, talk about where is our company not flowing. And I guarantee you'll have 100 ideas in 20 minutes.
Be the conductor, not the trumpet player. That's what I'm hearing.
Yeah.
Awesome. Brian, thank you so much for your time. Really, really appreciate it. Class episode.
Thank you.